Hello again, and welcome back to the Canadian Genius. So, I just did the intro, now I'm going to do the first topic, which I wanted to talk about celebrity. Now, I chose this as the first topic for a number of reasons, but one of the big ones is because it's something I'm actually terrified of. The idea of being a celebrity is just something I never, ever, 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 ever wanted to do because it's one of the worst things you can do to a person psychologically is to turn them into a celebrity because it just like you can't really understand how bad it is and how devastating it is until you understand it better. And because that's what I do is understand things and look at things. I've had an opportunity to see the impact celebrity has had on people and why. And so for that has always made me afraid of it. And that's always held me back because it's made me not want to share everything. It's made me always put a limit to what I'm willing to contribute because I never wanted to go over that line and become known. I didn't want to lose my freedom. I didn't want to lose my anonymity because that's a really important thing if you really have it, right? If you look at every celebrity on the planet, the one thing they all have in common is they just wish they could be nobody for a minute, right? And that's why anonymity is a powerful tool, but it's overlooked when you have it because you have it. But to understand that, I need to explain more about what celebrity is because otherwise it's just a word. It's just, this isn't going to make any sense. And to do that, we first have to define the word. And if you look at dictionaries and go online, most people say that, celebrity is someone who is famous. And if you look at famous, it's somebody who's a celebrity, which really doesn't mean anything. But there's a number of others that show that celebrity is about the people that we celebrate. And that's actually more the correct definition, right? Because there are lots of people out there who have done great things for the world that we know nothing about, right? We may know their name, but not who they are or what they look like because they're not celebrated. They're famous, they're just not celebrated. But the people that we look at and that we admire and that we look up to and that we think are amazing, we celebrate, right? We share their stuff, we contribute, their brand, we buy their products, we do all these things because we're trying to celebrate who they are and what they are and what they've contributed. And that's what makes a celebrity as versus just being famous, right? Because it's that celebration that really makes them what they are, but it's also that celebration that makes it the detriment that it is. Because when somebody becomes a celebrity, they lose freedom. They lose the ability to just do things because now their opinions are being criticized. Their message is being nitpicked. Their activities are being pulled apart. Everywhere they go, there's somebody trying to take a picture of them, trying to get a piece of them, trying to make money off of them. And that's really the downside. And it's hard to understand what that would feel like, what that would be like if you've never been. And so I spent a lot of time trying to come up with an example that most people could kind of relate to, that could sort of understand in at least an abstract way. And the best thing that I could come up with was being accused of murder. Because I know it may seem odd that, like, how can being a celebrity be the same as being accused of murder? But if you stop to look at it, when you're accused of murder, you lose your freedom. Everything you do is scrutinized. Every place you've ever gone or any place you do go is being watched and observed. Everything you say is being nitpicked and scrutinized. It really isn't much different than being a celebrity. The only difference is people aren't happy about it, right? If you're accused of murder, everybody's mad at you. If you're a celebrity, everybody wants to be part of you. But the end result is exactly the same, right? You have no freedom, you have no anonymity, you have no option to do anything, right? And you cannot be you because that's one of the big things that we tell celebrities is that they're not allowed to be human. Not at all. They're supposed to be superhuman. They're supposed to be better than. They're supposed to be bigger than. And so, what a surprise that we see all these celebrities that are just messed up because we did that to them. They didn't do it to them. We did that to them. And a big reason is because of the give and take of celebrity, right? When we celebrate people, we actually aren't just celebrating them. In our minds, we're setting up this social contract between us and them that says, I'm giving you this in exchange, you give me that. which is usually a piece of them, right? That you have to be superhuman, you have to be perfect, you have to be awesome at all times. And that's not realistic. For one, because nobody else knows about the contract. You know, the social contract is something I'll talk in more detail in another subject, but I think you can kind of understand the basics of it from this. But to sit there and put this expectation on somebody that they know nothing about it, that they have no opinion on the matter and no say in the matter, doesn't stop us from doing it. And then we put this tremendous pressure on them. So here they are, a human being like everybody else, that all of a sudden has this massive expectation thrust upon them that can't be identified, can't be sourced out, can't be negotiated with, can't be altered, because to do so means that they're going to get in trouble. They're going to get punished, they're going to get fired, they're going to not be popular anymore, they're going to be... And when you're a celebrity, one of the worst things that can happen is that you lose celebrity. If you look at people, we call them has-beens and stuff, and they go from being really popular and amazing to nobody. Right? And then there's new shows and stuff, reality TV, that tries to bring them back. And they're doing it because they're hoping to rekindle their brand. They're hoping to rekindle their flame. Because it is such a hard, tremendous thing from being on top to now being on the bottom. And that's all partly because we didn't let them be anything but the top. We didn't let them be human. But we can change a lot of this, which is a big point of why I wanted to talk about it. Because how we treat celebrities and how celebrities treat themselves is something we as a society have control over. We can say what is and isn't okay. And as I said before, I was terrified of that. Because having my life nitpicked in that way, having my freedom gone, having everybody just scrutinizing me all the time, like, that to me was just a horrible idea. You know, I'm not an extrovert by any means. I work very hard to be more extroverted. In truth, when I was a kid, I was so tremendously shy. I remember when I was in about grade 5 or 6, I think, I was walking uptown in the city I was living in with my friend, and he came across an older kid that he knew that I didn't, and there was a bush nearby that I actually went to go and hide in, right? Because I was so shy and so afraid of this person I didn't know. And it took me a lot of years to get over this, right? And I still have issues with it today. When you're that level of shy, it doesn't ever really go away. You just find better ways to deal with it. And so for me, it took a lot of effort to get over that. So to be in the limelight, to be excruciatingly nitpicked, is just something that my brain can't handle. It's just too big for me. And so it was something I always avoided. But as I said in the intro, having all this knowledge is useless if it doesn't mean something, if it isn't used. So I'm kind of sacrificing my freedom to help everybody learn more. Now, does that mean I'm going to be famous? I really hope not, because I really don't want to be. But it's not about me, right? It's about you at the end of the day. If you like what I say, then hopefully you'll tell others. And that's really the key of fame in the first place, is just telling others, right? And if we find something that works, if we find something we like, if we find something to celebrate, we do. If we find something we don't like, we find something we despise, we find something we disdain, we usually either leave it alone or shoot it down. And that's life, right? So it's important to understand that this is my motivation, but that fear of being a celebrity is real for me. And as I said in the intro, there's so many other people that have so much to contribute, and just knowledge and ideas and technological revolutions. But the same issue with me, right? They're afraid of celebrity. They're afraid of the scrutiny. They're afraid of losing the anonymity. Because it is one of the most important things we have. Now, as I said before, the best way to look at it is being accused of murder, but there's a few other things that we can imagine to help understand what it's like. A perfect one of that is, imagine you're just out for dinner with your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, and somebody just comes up, sticks their head right behind you and takes a selfie. For no reason, right? How would that make you feel? Now, just because someone's a celebrity, we demand that that becomes acceptable, right? Because that's our social contract with them, that that's acceptable because you're a celebrity. You owe us. We own you. Well, celebrities aren't slaves. They're just people with different jobs, typically better jobs, but just different jobs. So to come up and do that to somebody, if it's just somebody at random, it's okay that it be uncomfortable, that it's not fun, that it makes them feel vulnerable. But as celebrity, we expect them to not only deal with it, but to say thank you for doing it and to celebrate them, whoever it was that took the picture and whoever was in the picture, for celebrating them a little bit. But it's not about the celebrity at all in that point. It's about the photo bomb, right? So if you can imagine what that would feel like to have somebody do to you, you can get an idea of what it would feel like for somebody else. Another issue, if you want another example, is looking at celebrities that do autographs and stuff, right? Whether it's a book signing or whatever. You have to imagine, take a piece of paper and a pen and just on a sheet of paper write your name 50 times. Full signature, 50 times. Now look at your hand and how that feels. Now do that 100 times more, and then 100 times more, and then 100 times more, and then 100 times more, and 100 times more. That's what a book signing is for most celebrities. That's one of the reasons most have squiggle signatures, because it absolutely kill their arms and their hands to have to do the big ones. But we expect that every last signature, every last message be personal, be big, and be special, because we expect that from them. And we forget that they're human too, that they have to go through that. And I've been in lines with people doing book signings and stuff, and it's amazing how pushy people get, how angry they get. Because, like I said, they think they own the celebrity, which is exactly how they feel and how most people feel. That's why we want to know what's going on with them, because we don't want them to be hidden. We think we have a right to know what their life is because we gave it to them. But we didn't really. We gave them a tiny piece that, together with the other million little pieces, made something, but our contribution is nothing. So I always like to kind of imagine another analogy so people can better understand. So imagine if you went out and you donated a penny to an organization that needed to raise $1 million, right? How much of that organization would you expect to own in contributing a penny? But yet, when we do it with celebrities, we expect to own like 95% of them for a penny. Because that's essentially what we're giving, is like about a penny on $1 million. So we have to understand that the issue with celebrity is our fault. But it's their fault too, because they don't stand up and say, hey man, I'm human. I can't be perfect at all times. That's not realistic. But there are celebrities that do, and there are celebrities that do it better than others, right? And I'm going to do a second part to celebrity to talk about a specific celebrity so I can go into more specific examples and show the give and take. But along with everything that I'm trying to do, with celebrities specific, I want to help the celebrities realize that they have other options, right? It isn't about me getting sort of tagging on their coat heels. I don't want them to comment on it. I don't want them to like it and, connect to me. If they do, I would love it, but I don't want them to, right? I don't want to be a celebrity. I still don't, right? But it's about helping them learn to be human too, because they are part of us. They're human just like the rest of us. And they shouldn't be segregated or separated because they have money and they have acknowledgement and they have prestige, right? They still have the same issues. And as I said before, when celebrities kind of go mental, they go mental big. And I came up with this little slogan that I was almost thinking would be a good title for a book, called Sex, Drugs, and Power Trips. Because if you look at it, every celebrity, when they fall apart, it's either drugs, sex, or power trips that gets them into trouble, right? And drugs includes alcohol, because that is a drug, right? That's why I don't have that too. And sex, it's a sex scandal, a sex tape, whatever, an inappropriate connection with people, or power trips. And power trips are a little harder to understand because they're easy to overlook. And I know there was one a couple of years ago with Justin Bieber. He was in whatever state that had a drinking age of 21, and he was only 18 at the time, and he was caught drinking, right? He was doing a power trip. right? Still drugs, but the main issue was the power trip, that he was Justin Bieber and the law didn't apply to him anymore, right? And that's truly what he felt at the time. And there's a movie out that was done a number of years ago on Ray Charles. I don't remember if that, I think it's just called Ray is the name of the movie. And in there, the same kind of situation occurred, but with like much worse substances. He was doing heroin or morphine or whatever. And in his home state, where he was celebrated and acknowledged as this important citizen, he could get away with it. But as soon as he went across the border to another state, he was this black person trying to circumvent the law, and that was just not going to be tolerated at that day and time, right? So that's a good movie to watch for a number of reasons, and that's a big one just by itself, right? Is that that happens, and it still happens today. And we see it all the time, especially with athletes, right? That they get into trouble and they get a slap on the wrist so they can go and play some more. Because the sports team is more important than our social structure. And that creates a lot of this dichotomy that we tell celebrities that they're superhuman in detriment to humanity, but then we also tell them that they're supposed to be better than the law, right? We don't expect them to be better than the law. We just expect that they're above the law, right? Not because they are superhuman. The two, oddly enough, don't go together. We're not expecting you to be perfect so that you can avoid the law. It's completely separate, right? We expect you to be perfect. We expect the law to bend to you. They're not at all connected. And that creates a lot of issues too, because especially with a lot of the young celebrities and a lot of the child celebrities, especially, they get into so much trouble because they kind of get that get out of jail free card. And I think if you look at Drew Barrymore, I believe that was kind of her history when she was a child, right? She could pretty much do everything because she was a special celebrity to everybody, right? And so she kind of went mental and it was all okay because she was Drew Barrymore. But in doing that, we set that standard that says it's okay for celebrities to be above the law, especially if it impacts me. And sports impacts me because the team is that, right? You miss a player, a key player, that team is going to lose. That's city pride, that's state pride, that's important. But it isn't really important because that person is only going to be a celebrity for a moment, but their actions are going to carry on, which is why you see a lot of celebrities, again, sex, drugs, and power trips. Because even when they're not a celebrity anymore, they still think they have that power because they were given that power by society, right? So it creates that dichotomy that, you know, they have this special treatment, but they're not special, right? They're superhuman, but they're human, right? It just creates all sorts of issues, and they manifest in so many different ways. And like I said, it's like being accused of murder. It really is. Everybody knows who you are, but nobody knows anything about you, right? Because everything that we see about a celebrity is more often than not a persona that they've adopted either over time to kind of insulate themselves from that criticism or to specifically promote whatever item, a brand, a product, a sports team, or whatever, right? So they don't ever have the opportunity to just be open and honest because when they are, they get smacked down. And we've seen it many times with politicians who say something honest, but that maybe wasn't correct, and they get smashed. Because how dare you be human? How dare you have an opinion? You know, you are expected to be better than that. And we forget that they're not. We're human. We make mistakes. And if we understand that, then we can lower that bar to a point that celebrities can actually meet it. And that's a big thing I want to try and accomplish, is have that bar put to a human level. That the standards that we judge them by are the same standards we judge ourselves by. Because we're really not any different. We just, like I said, have better jobs, better acknowledged jobs, better experience, but not better human, just different. So I'm going to go to part 2, and in part 2 I'm going to talk about a specific celebrity, and I'm going to explain why as I go into all of that details. So, see you in a moment.